Yes, it's tip time again. So this week on Proper DIY, I've got a couple of nice little tips whether you have to drill into tiles or you need to paint around sockets and switches. That's a wall. So let's just jump straight in on the first one to a really nice, easy, quick solution to a problem that I've seen a number of times in people's houses, always drives me nuts. And that is paint around the edges of sockets and switches where people have painted and they've managed to get paint on the plastic. And even if it's white paint, you can still see it on the plastic and it always makes it look like you've not done the job properly. Now there's two ways you can get around this. Either you try to cut in and not touch the socket. Now the problem with that is that it's a fairly slow process going around sockets and switches like this. But more importantly, you end up with a band all the way around each socket and switch, which is potentially a different texture to the rest of the wall because the rest of the wall you're using a roller on, and next to each socket you've got this sort of halo all the way around because you've used a brush. So that isn't really a particularly good solution. It does take a little bit more time. Better than that is a quick way of masking sockets and switches that doesn't take too long, and it just means you can get on with the job. Before you even touch the screws, this is still nicely planted, get some masking tape and stick it on one side, but keep the rest of the roll flat against the wall, and all you do is you roll that around the wall, keeping it flat, and you go all the way around the socket or switch or whatever that you're trying to mask up. Just keep it on the wall until you've got all the way around, and then cut some off. And there you are, there's your socket nicely masked and tight against the wall. Now if you're spraying or you think you're going to make a real mess, you can actually put a bit of paper in there, fold these wings over that will keep it in place, and then you've masked the whole thing off. But for most painting you don't need to do that. All you really need to do is the outside. And what we do now is we just undo it by a few turns. So now it's away from the wall just by a few millimeters. I haven't taken it off there, so you don't have to worry about turn the electrics off or anyone getting their little fingers around the back because there's no room for that. However, it's a few millimeters off the wall, which means you can now paint all the way round without touching the edge of the plastic. And first I'm just going to use a paintbrush just to get right in there. Not worrying too much about texture or anything like that. I just want to get painted right underneath all the way around. And with that done, I can now turn to my roller and paint the wall like I normally would. And then the last thing I do is roll right up to that masking tape to make sure I've got the same texture right up all the way around the switch or the socket or whatever enclosure you're working around. And that means I've got the same texture all the way around, and all we have to do now is wait for it to dry. So the paint is now dry. That could have been the second coat if you're going to put two coats on. So all we need to do is to rip the thing off, get it out the way, and you can see we've got a nice clean edge. So all we need to do now is tighten the thing back up. There you go. Job is done. So here's a nice little tip for anyone that's got uplighters like this, which are really common in the UK these days, and which I quite like. However, I do find the GU10 bulbs or lamps, if you're an electrician, tend to blow quite regularly, so I'm always changing them. Now, if you change a bulb or a lamp at the bottom, it's not really a problem because you can actually take it out, and when you do take it out, you can actually see which way round the fitting is, so you can work out which orientation you need to be able to put it back in, and with a little bit of fiddling about, it just pops in and everything is nice and easy. The problem comes when you need to change one of these bulbs at the top, and the reason is because you can't actually see the orientation of the knobbly bits. So what you find is if you take a bulb out at the top to change it, I'm going to take this one out, I'm going to put this one in. Now I have no idea which way round the knobbly bits go. And you can spend what seems like a lifetime trying to work out how to fit the blimmin' thing in. So here is the solution. And it's very easy. So all you need to do is when you do unscrew it and lift it out, take a note of the orientation of it. Then you'll have an idea. See, this one is sort of pointing this way. So it's sort of 45 degrees. This bit is like 45 degrees to the left. So when I go and change the bulb and offer the thing back up again, I'm already near enough where I should be. And there you are, fits straight in and job done. And I've found, having changed lots of these over the last few years, that saves me an awful lot of messing about and also saves me getting upset with it. Drilling through tiles is a really standard DIY job that most of us will have to tackle at some point in our DIY careers. You see, a standard shower unit will have multiple penetrations through tiles. For instance, the shower head above you will have at least a couple of penetrations just to get a good fix in the wall above. And if you've got a mixer shower, you're going to have a couple of big holes coming out to allow the pipes coming out to that mixer. And all of that wants to be neat and tidy without any cracks. And I would classify holes in tiles to either be small or big. The small ones being just screws, the bigger ones allowing pipes to come out. So let's start with the small ones. And I know it's intimidating because you've just spent a couple of days doing all your tiling and grouting, but it really is very easy. So this is where I need my fixing through my tile here. And I've got a standard tile drill bit here that's about 6mm across, which is big enough for me to get a raw plug into the wall behind. Now I'm sure most people have seen this before, where it's sort of good practice to use maybe a bit of masking tape on the tile so you can mark out exactly where you're going to drill your holes. And it also helps stop the drill bit from sliding around. But you don't necessarily need masking tape. What's more important is you're using a nice sharp new drill bit that isn't blunt and donkey's years old. And as soon as you get through that glaze, you'll find that it takes really easily. So with a bit of pressure, and you can hear immediately that this drill bit is cutting through that glaze. If you start spinning and nothing happens, then I would definitely question your drill bit. As soon as it starts actually taking some glaze off, then really you've got your pilot hole, and this masking tape's not really doing anything at all. Let me just start this one off as well and just listen to this. You can hear that cutting through that glaze, so that's good news. So with that cut, then really we're not going to go anywhere now. We've started to go through that glaze. Let me just take that out of the way so it's easy to see. And then it's just a matter of using medium force and then drilling just like you would a normal hole. The one thing I should have mentioned at the start here is, by definition, in this wall there's probably water pipes, and you normally put your shower head exactly above your mixer taps. So by definition there's probably water pipes where you're drilling. So do just remember that those pipes you put in a few days before, just make sure you miss them, yeah? There you are, two nice easy holes. Now that's the easy bit, and I think the small holes are pretty straightforward as long as you've got a decent drill bit. What's a little bit harder are large holes. Most shower mixers these days will be fed by two 15mm copper pipes, hot and cold, coming out the wall, looking a little bit like this. So in each direction, offer up the tile and just mark the sides of the pipe just on the edge of the tile, making sure you use tile spacers so the tile is in the right position. And now with a square you can transfer those marks to the centre of the tile and position exactly where that hole needs to be. Here I'm using a 22mm wet diamond hold saw, and to make sure that it starts off in exactly the right position, I've made this really simple jig out of a piece of 18mm ply, which is simply a hole just big enough for the bit to fit in. That means I can hold the ply firmly to the tile without the threat of the bit sliding around the tile for that very first cut. Because this is a wet bit, I just add a little bit of water to give it some lubrication. And now I'm through the glaze, I don't need the jig, and I just carry on cutting the hole full depth. However, there are some times where you have to tile around a pipe and you haven't got the luxury of an open-ended pipe that you can slip the tile on. If you're in this situation, then you've got no choice other than to cut the tile around the pipe. However, the best way of doing it is still to form the hole as we did just now, but then cut the tile in either direction, making sure you get a really clean cut. That means that when you've put it together and fix it to the wall, with a bit of fiddling about, you can end up with something that's just about invisible. So there you go, painting, lights and tiles. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you next time.